What's up guys, welcome back to the next video in learning C++. My name is QDS Dani and you guys watching my channel Croywood. Alright, so we continue our discussion with polymorphism and virtual function. So in this video we're going to discuss the early binding and late binding. As I said to you guys in the previous videos that I'm going to explain to you guys the early binding and late binding. What the heck is this early binding and late binding? Alright, so connecting a function call to function body is called binding. So binding is a everyday English word when we bind something to two objects together. So it's called binding. So in programming or object-oriented programming, connecting a function call to a function body is called binding. There are two terms that is used in object-oriented programming, and you guys now by know that is called early binding and late binding. So keep in mind that there is a term for early binding. So the early binding we call it static binding, or sometimes you guys hear is static binding or late binding, because early binding and late binding is just a term like a parent class or child class. Like a base class we call it, everyday programmers they call it like a parent class and derived class sometime. But in C++ manual, you guys needs to follow the basic convention. Say you guys can't say to child class, you guys can say to each other with child class, same as early binding and late binding. Some people they call it static binding and some people call it, this one is dynamic binding, but they're all referring to the same, early binding and late binding. The above term refers to event that happens in the compile time and run time. So that's what the above. Then you guys going to say it doesn't make sense. Why would I learn this early binding and late binding? Because the reason we're going to learn this early binding and late binding is that the above term refers to events that happens in compile time and run time. So we had in a previous video we had created this say hello. If you guys remember, we created the object and then our pointers was we assign our objects to our pointers, and our pointer facing this pointing towards this say hello, and all of this say hello has different sayings inside. Say cat says something, Fluffy says something, dog says something, puppy says something. So then we wonder how the compiler knows what function to compile. So that's very amazing. If you, as I said to you guys in the previous, then you guys going to think how the compiler knows which one of these to compile, because all of them say hello. So if I put it in front of you 10 of these say hello, even you going to be confused which one to say first. So even the compiler doesn't know, because we have created interface, we have created the abstract class, and we have created this pure virtual function. We put it is equal to 0. Then how the compiler, as I said to you guys, then how the compiler know which one of to call. As I said to you guys, the compiler creates the virtual table inside, and then compiler points it towards the function. So then how the compiler knows which one of these to call. It always compiles a call to say hello function in base class. But in that's how you guys are going to see virtual. So that's virtual table, as I said to you guys. But in VRIT, sometimes you guys see it in lowercase virtual table. The compiler doesn't know anything about what class contain which pointer, so it arranges a deferral until the program is running. Now that runtime, it is clear to the pointer pointing to which class, and the right function of say hello will be called. So that's the main idea of this early binding and late binding. Say, as I said to you guys, if you guys wanna put a polymorphism, if you guys wanna keep in mind function overloading, our class overloading is early binding or static binding, and is also in polymorphism. It's a form of polymorphism. And late binding, which we, as I introduced you guys, virtual functions, and pure virtual function is called late binding or dynamic binding. But they also form of polymorphism. So polymorphism is one of the most important aspects of C++. You guys need to know. So now you guys should be clear that why we call something called early binding or static binding or late binding or dynamic binding. Why we call this one? Because whatever happens inside the compiler, compile time and run time, that's what we're referring to, early binding and late binding. All right, so in the next video, I'm gonna show you guys the early binding, late binding, and later on I'm gonna show you guys the early binding. All right, guys, that's it for this video. If you guys have any question or comment, leave in the comment box. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye.
You